All right, how's everyone doing tonight? It's been a little while. I know I keep saying that I'm going to do this more often than I don't do it, and I'm sorry. We are continuing our playthrough of Fate Stay Night, the Unlimited Blade Works route. So, how's everyone's holidays been doing? Was your Christmas good? Was your New Year's good? Was your New Year's GSSR roll on FGO good? I got a MP2 copy of Arjuna Alter. I was trying to get my Summer Musashi up to MP4. Hey, I'll take a MP2 Arjuna Alter, no problem. So last we left off, Archer betrayed Rin to join Caster, and now Rin and Shirou are going to try and persuade Elia to join up, even though they have nothing to contribute in this alliance at this point. So we'll see how that goes. February 12th, Unlimited Blade Works 13 versus Berserker. Interlude 13-1, Unlimited Blade Works. She ponders in the dark by herself. It has already been a day since she attacked the church and killed the priest. It has been a day since she declared that she will find it no matter where it is hidden, if it exists. It may not be the case for other servants, but there is no way someone as versed in magecraft as her cannot find a holy relic like the Holy Grail. And there is only one answer. The Holy Grail never existed in the church to start with. Letting out a small sigh, she puts her finger on her temple. When she closes her eyes, the heavy darkness weighs heavily on her whole body. That is simply a scream. It is not someone else's. The scream comes from her body and mind, telling her that she is in a critical state of fatigue. It has already been a month since she was summoned. During that time, she has done her best just to win. Her master is an ordinary person without a magic circuit, and she herself is the weakest of the servants. In order to make up for that shortcoming, she abused magecraft that was prohibited. She has been exploiting the citizens. She has been manipulating the ley line using human sacrifices and the threads of magical energy that she placed throughout the town. That is the cause for why she was called a witch when she was alive. But she had never used them before. She should have never used them, and she had no intention of doing the forbidden. So, why did she end up using them for such a meaningless kill fest? She became a heroic spirit for her own revenge. However, she understands that it is meaningless to use the magecraft that diminished her to being a witch. She only uses trivial magecraft. It was her creed to inflict certain curses that people referred to as disasters. They could cause people to destroy themselves with their own greed and return to their true selves. That was all the revenge she could manage, so what caused her to stray from her path so much?
すべては聖杯のため。あらゆる望みを叶える聖杯なのだから気が違うのは当然です。
That is a lie. She knows the true identity of the Holy Grail. She has known what the thing is and for what objective servants like her are summoned for a long time. It is true that most wishes can be granted by the Holy Grail that appears in this town. It can allow her to stay in this world as a physical entity instead of a heroic spirit, thereby allowing her to live a second life as a human. However,
そんなことに何の意味があるという。
She mutters and closes her eyes. She empties her mind. For a moment, she temporarily lets her guard down and rests her mind. She hears the sound of rain. It was a moonless night. Her empty heart wanders in the surrounding pitch-black darkness. That is where she met him, with a bloodied body and frozen limbs. That coincidence was a miracle among miracles. It took place at the mountain that houses Ryudo Temple. Falling rain. She wanders aimlessly in the gloomy, dense forest. She leaves behind traces of blood. In her hand is the dagger that breaks contracts. The purple robe was wet from the rain, and her limbs had turned white from the winter rain. She staggers around, holding onto the trees for support. She walked on, dirtied with mud, her breath ragged, reaching out her hand as if asking for help. She did not look like her usual self that is always composed. No, there were not even any remnants of magical energy. She's exhausted. There's only a fistful of magical energy left in her. For a servant, magical energy is like the body that allows them to exist. But she was losing all of her magical energy because her master was not supplying her with any. But that was only natural. She killed her own master just now. That is the sole cause for her exhaustion. She, the servant known as Castor, was trying to disappear in this mountain as compensation for obtaining freedom. I mean, if you saw the anime, I think we can all agree that that her original master had it coming, or at least got what he deserved. A dry laugh. It is funny that her body is falling apart after she stabbed her vulgar master in the back. Moreover, it is also funny how she underestimated her connection with her master. She had done well. Her master was a legitimate master. He was in his 30s, had an average build, and didn't have many notable characteristics, other than being a jerk who used children for his magecraft experiments. He didn't have any intention to fight, but dreamed only of winning. He was a man that only waited for the self-destruction of the other masters in the shadows. The man didn't trust Castor. He disliked Castor as a skilled mage, and he insulted her for being inferior to other servants. She gave up on him after a few days. She acted as an obedient servant and continued to fulfill the man's self-esteem. As a result, she made him use up his command spells on simple, meaningless things. She told him he did not need his command spells. She made him believe that she would pledge her loyalty to her master even without the command spells. In conclusion, it was his fault for believing her. The master used his 3 command spells on meaningless things, and he was killed by Castor at that moment. It was easy. It was unpleasant for her contract with that man to still exist, so she finished him off with a contract breaker. Not quite how it happened in the anime, but she had made a mistake. Servants exist using the supply of magical energy from their master, but it isn't just about obtaining magical energy. Servants are only allowed to exist in this age because they are connected to a human from this age. In other words, to lose one's master, their passport to this age, means being deported to the outside world. However, one would not normally be this exhausted. This is the curse that her master left. Her master did not approve of Castor, a mage that is more skilled than him. Therefore, he always kept her magical energy supply at a level below his own. The amount of magical energy that a human possesses is not enough to keep a heroic spirit in this world. She would normally be able to last 2 days even if she lost her master. But this time is different. Her magical energy was drastically decreasing with every second, and she starts to see the end. Probably a few more minutes. She will disappear if she doesn't find the next master to make a contract with. She is going to disappear before she can even fight, as a pitiful servant that got summoned just to be trampled on, unable to accomplish anything at all. It was vexing. It was vexing, but it was not a big deal. Because it was always like that. She was always treated unfairly. She was always someone else's tool, and she was never understood by anyone. Yes, Her life was always controlled by someone else. Her mind was destroyed at a young age in order to save Jason, a hero chosen by the gods. Just for the sake of the hero the goddess of beauty happened to favor, the goddess cursed her to blindly love a man she did not even know. With a blank mind, she betrayed her father and even her own country. She has no recollection of anything that happened afterwards. After everything was over, the girl, who was a princess, was in an unfamiliar country. The girl who betrayed her father, the king, for a man. The witch who cut apart her own brother and mercilessly threw the pieces into the sea. The man who wished for that in order to become the king cast her aside, saying that he could not marry a witch. She was taken to an unfamiliar country while still being manipulated, labeled as a witch, and the only person she could rely on threw her away. That is her origin. She had nothing to be blamed for, and the people around her understood that. Despite that, people still demanded that she continue to play the role of a witch. Unable to protect the king. Unable to be on the receiving end of dark superstitions. Why couldn't we get this animated in the Unlimited Blade Works anime? They wanted a convenient scapegoat that they could blame for any disaster. That system hasn't changed. Humans desire an easily understandable evil so that they can reassure themselves of their own goodness. In that regard, she was the perfect scapegoat. The father she could rely on was in a distant country. There was not a single person who defended her, so that people could comfortably blame her for things. How they are poor, how they hate others, how people are ugly, even how people die. They decided that everything was that witch's fault. So yeah, I think Angra Manyu would understand how you feel. That's why she just accepted it. Since she can only live as a witch, she decided to live like a witch. She just swore that she would show them how ugly the thing they desired and celebrated was. If people do not know their ugliness, then so be it. They can stay ignorant, pay for their own crimes, and suffer forever. They will not be able to get out of that nightmare. They can only suffer as criminals for the rest of their lives since they do not know what crimes they have committed. That is the meaning of existence she has imposed for herself. The role that they gave to the girl who had been called a witch and never had free will. But something like that is not something that someone wished for. That is the same for her. She just continues to seek revenge without any wishes of her own. Yes, until she met this stranger at this moment. A rustling sound. She glares ahead while struggling to remain conscious. It is midnight. What kind of human would come into this forest?
そこで何をしている?
It was a heavy voice. She did not even have the composure to check who it was. She just thought it was all over. She had no power to use magecraft. Her purple robe might have looked like a coat, but she was covered in blood from the waist down. A woman covered in blood is hiding in this rain. It was obvious what this human would do just from seeing that. They would run away first. What would they do after that? They would either report it or pretend they hadn't seen it. Either way, it did not matter to her, as she could not move as she wanted to. That caused the last of her spirit to give out. Her final moment was lonely and cold, just like the end of her true lifetime. Or so she thought. When she regained her consciousness, she was at that place. Sitting in front of her was that human, that man she met in the woods.
起きたか? 事情は話せるか?
Those were his first words. When she watched the man with blank amazement.
迷惑だったのなら帰るがいい. 忘れろと言うなら忘れよ.
The man tells her in a tone of voice that doesn't change. that was how she met her master, Soichiro Kuzuki. Kuzuki was a strange man. Should he be called a ghost? He had no reason to live, but he had no reason to die. He was just there, and since he existed, he just did what was given to him. He had no self. That was her first impression of him, so she thought that it would be easy to turn him into a puppet. She gradually realized that was a mistake. Soichiro Kuzuki has no past. He has no self because he has no past, but it does not mean that Kuzuki himself is empty. In reality, Kuzuki was a sincere man. He easily accepted her when she told him she wanted him to be her master, and when she revealed her identity.
このような話を信じるのですか？
今のは嘘なのか？
If he asks, he replies. Of course, if she replies to him that it is the truth, then he would accept it. She was able to stay in this world by gaining a new master and was able to return to her role as a witch. Even now, she thinks that was a miracle. She would have disappeared before she awakened if she had not been taken to Ryudo Temple. Ryudo Temple is a demonic place for servants, but is a perfect place for summoning once inside. The bounded field that surrounds Ryudo Temple is useful for keeping any inhuman beings inside from disappearing. She was saved right before she was going to disappear because she was brought to the Ryudo Temple. If it had been a different place, she would have vanished after being taken there. As a result, she found the best ley line and impregnable defense. She was easily able to take over Ryudo Temple, figured out the mechanism of the Holy Grail, and summoned Assassin as the fifth servant. But such things are trivial matters. She was certainly lucky that night. Many miracles saved her, and now victory is within her sight. But none of it is worth her thanks. If there were nothing, she would have been just as content to give up. There was just one thing that was really important. A very small matter that is not important to anyone else. The coincidence that she was able to meet Soichiro Kuzuki is a miracle beyond belief. But even that's not going well. No, she sighs that nothing she does goes well. Her master won't be happy even if she does such a thing like this. He has not had any interest in the Holy Grail from the start. If he had a clear wish, she would do her best to grant it, but Soichiro Kuzuki has none. A one-sided relationship. They do not get along well. Even the fact that their relationship is like that shows things aren't going well.
ミイラ取りがミイラになったか。希代の魔女というのも案外脆いものだな。
She turns to the intruder. It is not her master standing there. It is the knight in a red cloak, Archer, whose identity is still unknown.
アーチャー、あなたには外の見張りを任せたはずですが。
ああ、それがな、ざっと見たところ、周囲に敵という敵がいない。
それはそうでしょうね。私たちの敵はバーサーカーだけよ。それもセイバーさえ陥落すればこちらから撃って出るだけ。あなたもそれが分かっていたからこそこちらに着いたのではなくて。
さてどうかな。私はあのマスターと契約を切りたかっただけとは思わないか。あのマスター以外なら契約者は誰でもよかったと。
Archer's frivolous talk has some truth in it. But what does that mean? Does that mean Archer had no interest in betraying, but betrayed his master only because he wanted to break his contract with Rin Tosaka?
そう。小娘のおもりはごめんということ。確かに私たちサーバントは総じてマスターに不満を持つわ。あなたが。
いや、召喚者として彼女は完璧だった。ただ少しばかり狂いが生じただけだ。それとキャスター、一つ忠告しよう。あらゆるサーバントが君と同じだとは思わないことだ。少なくともセイバーとバーサーカーは主に不満を抱いてはいなかった。正しい英雄というものはね、正しい人間にしか刺激できないものなんだ。
何を今さら。ねじ曲がったマスターだからこそねじ曲がった英霊を呼ぶ。 そのようなことあなたに言われるまでもないわ。
Summoners with dark shadows in their mind cannot summon heroic spirits who are on the side of light. In that regard, she and Ryder are not heroic spirits. A twisted summoner calls for twisted heroic spirits. Just as Ryder was once a beautiful being, so too was Castor once a pure being. It is ironic that the heroic spirit that Castor summoned was a fiction. That the heroic spirit that Castor summoned was a fictional hero.
しかし考えてみればおかしな話だな。君やライダーは英霊に敵対するものだろう。にもかかわらずサーバントとして選ばれている。まあ聖杯には善悪の区別はない。力のある人間霊なら誰であろうと組み上げるということか。
いいえ、本来そんな英霊としての側面もあるものなんて混ざり物は選ばれない。この戦いがおかしくなったのは3度目からよ。それまでは私やライダーのような英霊は呼ばれなかった。
That does not concern her now. She is also not interested in the true nature of the Holy Grail. Her mission as the servant that goes by Castor is only to win this war. She is not interested in what comes after. No, to be honest, that is not the end she wishes for.
無駄話はここまでよ、アーチャー。持ち場に戻りなさい。あなたが何を考えているかはどうでもいいわ。あなたはすでに私のサーバント。その命は私の手の中にある。
了解した。では従順なサーバントらしく主の期待に応えるとしよう。
The knight in red goes up the stairs with an unchanging tone of voice. She watches him in silence and takes a deep sigh. One more day until Saber surrenders. She has not been able to find the Holy Grail as of yet, but she will be one step closer to the end once Saber joins her ranks. What will happen once the war ends? Castor shall make every wish come true with that power. Continuing to live as a witch just as she swore to when she was alive wouldn't be so bad. But there will be no reason once the war ends. Even if she still has the will, her owner will have no reason to be her master anymore.
あと少しで聖杯はこの手に収まる。
Castor extends her pale hand into empty space. Her long and hard work is about to be rewarded, but her expression is like that of a criminal who is about to be executed. Interlude out. Lots of interludes in this section of the game. I saw many corpses. I died at that time and was reborn. I don't have repentances about the path I took. My eyes lost their hatred. My hands lost their anger. My feet lost their hope. And I lost myself there. I lost everything. It is not because I gave up that I accepted that nothing would be saved. I just found that it's natural. It's just that dying people will die and survivors will survive. I laid down on the mountain of rubble and gazed at the spreading ruins. I understood everything then. I thought I understood everything. But I still thought about it. If I could save everything here, how wonderful would that be? That is what I admired. I just thought it would be nice if no one had to suffer. I tried to become a hero of justice for that sake. It was easy to understand. It seemed like an ideal way to live. That's why I aimed for it. I could see where I had to be, and there are many ways to get there. I just kept on running, wanting to be as close to it as possible, even though I didn't know what was right or wrong. Many paths that I took were crooked, and my destination was only getting farther away. I'm taking the long way. I've been repeating this for 10 years since I got saved by Kiritsugu. But I won't regret it. I'm not skilled like Tosaka. I will take the wrong path and lose many things at times. But I can't disregard them as meaningless. I have to show meaning for why I survived for the sake of things that I have to show meaning for why I survived for the sake of things I have trampled over and things that won't come back. I won't lose for that sake. It can't be helped if I lose against others, but I can win against myself. I can always resist against my mind that says to give up. That's all I swore upon. There's only one thing that I believed in and wanted to believe in. Yes, even if I'm walking down the wrong path, I will not regret believing in it. I'm awakened by the light pouring in from outside. It's before 6 a.m. The sky outside the window is cloudy, as if sprinkled with ashes. I get ready and leave my room. My body's in good condition, and there's not much pain in my wound anymore. I shouldn't be a burden to Tosaka like this, even if we were to engage in battle.
来たわね。準備はいい？シロ。
I'm ready, but Tosaka has transformed.
何よ、地雷踏んで動けなくなった新兵みたいな顔して。まだ準備できてないの？
No, that's not it. Don't you look different, Tosaka?
は？ああ、これ細かい作業の時にかけるだけだから気にしないで。
Well, I guess that's fine if she says so. I wonder what kind of magecraft this is that makes it look so wrong yet so right.
いい？私たちが向かうのは郊外の森。町からはるかに離れた市街。まだ人の手が入っていない広大な樹海よ。長年人間の介入を拒んできただけあって森は深くて広いわ。年に何人か何の準備もなしに踏み込んで遭難したって話知ってるでしょ？
I nod silently. Our destination is the Einsburn villa that is said to be somewhere in that forest. That girl. Our fate is decided the moment our negotiation with Eliasfield breaks down and we end up fighting. We can't call for help. It will be difficult to run away. We can't escape from the forest alive if we don't defeat that giant, Berserker.
じゃあそろそろ行きましょう。徹夜して場所に当たりはつけといたからうまくすれば半日ぐらいで見つけられるはずよ。とりあえず国道までは車を使うからタクシー代用意しといて。
She picks up a Boston bag full of things and starts walking. I go after her with my bamboo sword bag in one hand. But Tosaka, money for the taxi is fine, but does that mean we'll be walking on the way back home? We ride the taxi for an hour from town. We ride on the endless highway, passing several mountains, and reach the entrance of the forest. Of course, there are no paved roads in the forest. We walk about 1 kilometer from the highway and finally reach the entrance to the forest. I knew it wasn't going to be easy, but I can't help but get nervous once I actually face it. The forest is dark even though it's daytime. The tall branches that cover the sky shut out the sunlight, and it's hard to see more than 10 meters ahead, let alone the end of the forest.
ちょっとシロ、悪いけど先に進んでみてくれない？
That's fine, but you're the one who knows where that girl is, right? I don't think anything good will come from having me go ahead. I complain as I enter the forest. Then... What the? I just felt a shock! I pull back my foot reflexively. I only felt numb for an instant. The numbness itself was subtle, and it hurts way more to stub your toe on a dresser. Well, it's basically like static shock.
やっぱり識別だけだろうけど森全体に管理が行き届いてるみたいね。
Wait, hold on. Isn't that bad? That means we set out the burglar alarm, right? Then...
別に問題ないんじゃない？私たちは奇襲に来たわけじゃないもの。話し合いに来たんだから むしろ今からアピールしておいた方が得でしょ。
Oh, be careful, you'll feel a bit of a shock.
分かってる分かってる。シローの見てたからどんなものか分かってるって。
Tosaka waves her hand and steps into the forest. At that moment, Tosaka lets out a funny scream and jumps back. Wow! Crackling electricity. I want to believe that it's my imagination that the leaves piled up under Tosaka's... I want to believe that it's my imagination that the leaves piled up under Tosaka's feet are scorched. Seems like the alarm reacts differently depending on the person who steps in. It was like a greeting to me. I calmly explained the situation. But it doesn't seem like Tosaka is listening to me.
やってくれるじゃないあのガキ。今笑ったの確かに聞こえたんだから。
Tosaka yells at the empty space where there isn't anyone. I don't know where that line went, as her threatening attitude seems like she might go fight instead of talk. Well, anyways, it seems like talking bad about Tosaka is fatal no matter how far away you are from her, so I should be careful. We walk through the forest. We're the only living humans among these infinite trees. I don't hear the breathing of any beasts, and the plants in winter are as lifeless as corpses. The endless sea of trees that seem to go on forever make me constantly feel apprehension. It's already been 3 hours since we entered the forest. It's way past noon, and just as I've become unable to tell whether there have been any changes in the landscape.
見つけた。って聞いてはいたけど呆れたわ。本気でこんなところにあんなものを建てるなんて。
I followed Tosaka's line of sight. There's only darkness ahead. Between the trees, there's some incredibly out-of-place thing that can be seen through cracks that are so small they could easily be missed by anyone who doesn't pay close attention. What is that? A wall?
壁よ。まったくどうかしてるわ。あれ、自分たちの国から丸ごと持ってきたものよ。
Tosaka curses and heads to the strange object we see in the distance. I follow after her, still bewildered, unable to grasp what it is. We get out of the forest. The forest that seemed to be endless abruptly ends. No, it seems like the traces of the forest vanished, as if they carved out just this part with a big spoon. The gray sky covering above us is so high that I can't see everything. A huge dome-like space. This is more like an underground kingdom instead of an open space. That was Eliasfield's dwelling. The old castle built in the middle of the forest. It's a solitary castle in the forest that has no visitors, is too big for that girl to live in, and is too lonely to live in alone. Anyway, it does no good to falter here. According to Tosaka, Eliasfield knows that we came here. Then we should go confidently from the front entrance to show that we don't have any enmity. Alright, let's go, Tosaka. Tosaka? Tosaka looks up at the castle with an alarming expression. Her side profile looks as tense as it does when she's confronting an enemy. Tosaka, is there something bothering you?
私たち以外に誰かいる。
Of course there is. This is where the Elia girl and Berserker live.
そうじゃなくて、それ以外の誰かってことよ。シロ、こっちから入るわよ。
Huh? Wait! Without a chance to stop, Tosaka starts running to the big tree by the wall. No, that's not all. Tosaka grabs onto a branch and skillfully climbs up. I look up in astonishment. Tosaka looks around the castle and she jumps and kicks at the castle's second floor. A shattering sound. A window breaks and the red figure disappears into the castle.
ほら早く。本気でおかしいわよこの城。
Jeez, aren't we here to talk? But what's done is done. I also climb the tree and jump into the second floor of the castle like Tosaka. I go out to the hallway from the room we invaded. Before I can even marvel at how magnificent this place is, the abnormality Tosaka mentioned earlier grabs my attention. The sound echoing is definitely the sound of battle. The sound of swords clashing. But is the storm-like sword fighting this even possible? Even the most intense sword fight that I've witnessed so far, the one between Saber and Berserker, didn't make these kinds of sounds. Oh! Then I suddenly realized, this doesn't sound like your average sword fight. This is one against many. There's literally a war going on somewhere in this castle. There's no doubt that one of them is Berserker. This castle is Iliasvil's castle. If a battle were to occur, it would only be when Berserker is attacking an intruder. An intruder that's not us. I start running. The sounds are echoing from below. Judging from where the sounds are coming from relative to our entry point, the battle is in the center of this castle, in the reception hall. I run through the unfamiliar castle. This isn't the time to be exchanging opinions. I don't know what's happening, but it feels like it will lead to permanent consequences. I run down the stairs. A fierce sword fight is happening close
閉め
by.
た。ここ広間の吹き抜けに繋がってる。
Tosaka checks the end of the passage. The hallway splits at a T-junction and both seem to lead to the terrace at either side of the hall.
ここで別れましょう。私はこっちから様子を見るから、シロはそっちからお願い。
It's better to split up than to stay together in one place. But the way we are now, we don't have any way to escape if we're found. We don't stand a chance either way. So we'll split up. If we split up, even if one of us was found, there's hope that the other can manage to escape somehow. Tosaka goes down the hallway facing east. I nod and go down the other hallway. The other hallway on the other side facing west.
シロ、
She suddenly stops me.
分かってるわね。何が起きようと絶対に手は出さないで。今の私たちに戦う手段はない。いい？やばいと思ったらすぐに逃げるのよ。どちらかが捕まっても構わず走って。誰かを助けるなんて、まず自分を助けてから考えることなんだから。
Her voice is suppressing her emotions. That sounded more like a plea than a warning. I go around and come out to the terrace of the lobby. I see Tosaka emerge from the opposite side of the terrace far away. She immediately takes cover and peeks out to see what's going on while I do. The instant we look down the hall, we both suppress our voices. Shinji? Why is he here? Shinji stands atop the rubble in the corner of the lobby, observing the spectacle with joy. No, that's not it. That's not the surprising thing. Right now, the truth that I have to accept right now is the battle that Shinji is observing. The black giant lets out a roar. The swinging axe sword stirs up a cloud of dust and crushes the rubble into powder. Berserker is no different than before. No, his blood-curdling roar doesn't compare to what it sounded like before. Behind the giant is the pale white girl, Berserker's master, Iliasvil. That girl was always smiling innocently and unfit for a kill fest. That girl is now shivering and staring at her own servant about to cry out. Her pale face is desperately trying to deny the despair in front of her. Someone help me. That's what the trembling lips of the snow-white girl seem to say. No. A whirlwind blows violently. Berserker's axe sword is repelled each time. In the center of the hall, by the noble phantasm of one servant reigning the throne of rubble. The countless numbers of swords dance. So there's Gable. I wonder if that's Daon's right here. Or maybe I'm just overthinking this. Each of the weapons appearing behind the man is undeniably a fatal weapon. They pierce through, like hot water. The bottomless noble phantasm destroys Berserker's body, as if repelling his axe sword wasn't already enough. His limbs fly off. The swords cut through his body, penetrate his head, and pierce his heart. But he still does not die. The giant revives after each instantaneous death that he suffers and resolutely advances toward the enemy. 8 times already. Berserker moves forward while being killed mercilessly that many times. The enemy welcomes him with a smile. The repeated tragedy. Berserker is killed many times, unable to get close to his enemy. No way! It's not because Berserker is being defeated without being able to do anything. Man, that servant is beyond belief. All the noble phantasms that are repeated infinitely are real. I can tell since I have rejected Archer souls. Those are the original versions of every noble phantasm, the ones from before they became legends. Who could he be? A being of heroic spirit who's able to retain so many weapons? No, first of all, there shouldn't be a 7th servant. No, first of all, there should be 7 servants. Then he's the 8th one. Is he the one who shouldn't exist? Can't breathe. Berserker is nothing less than astounding. Body made out of steel that is superhuman strength. On top of that, he can regenerate on the spot even if he dies. He's not an opponent that can be matched. The 8th servant doesn't retreat from such a monstrous opponent that overwhelms Berserker with repeated magic swords and holding. When I woke up, most of my face on the other side, it was also daylight. Only natural. The space below us is a land of death. We'll die instantly if we enter it. No, more than that. He's a demon. A different atrocity than Berserker. This man lacks order and wishes for battles only for the objective of killing. Hey, is that Luminori Yagi? Is that you, Yagyu's sword? Wait, is that, Asalfo's Argali? Even with such an unusual enemy in front of him, Black Giant is still the strongest. His steps don't cease, even his whole body is pierced and caught up. He receives the rain of double phantasm, regenerates each time, and surely closes in on his own enemy. It's an advanced avoid tactics. He's not thinking of ways of countering his enemy's attacks. He moves forward as long as he's alive. It's a savage battle about just killing the enemy. He will not reach the enemy. Berserker's brute courage will prove futile, and his life will end just as a mere target. That enemy understands that. That's why he stopped on purpose after just provoking the giant that foolishly moved forward. There's no chance of victory for the black giant with this method. It's something that the man confronting him and I, looking as an outsider, can tell. Most likely, even Berserker himself, who was being used for target practice, must have realized the same thing a while back. If the giant keeps stupidly moving forward, he knows no retreat and doesn't try to avoid the attacks. That man welcomes the figure with a smile.
所詮はバーサーカー。戦うだけのものであったか。同じ半身として期待していたが、よもやそこまでアホとはな。
The noble phantasms appear. Roaring with laughter, the man commands the noble phantasms behind him.
では、そろそろ引導を渡してやろう。これ以上近づかれては暑苦しい。
At his signal, the numerous noble phantasms attack the giant. The giant repels the majority of them, and at the same time, the majority of them take his life. The black giant shakes. The body of rock starts to fall. But he ain't done! The giant holds out and shakes off the noble phantasms clinging all over his body. The astonishment comes for that man. The black giant gets rid of the swarm of noble phantasms and closes in on his enemy. His body is already a corpse. The black giant advances with what should be a hopelessly fatal wound. That is the result of a strong will. It is not the madness due to being Berserker. The giant is facing this hopeless battle with a strong will.
でかいだけの的が未だ形をとどめるか。
The magic bullets are fired mercilessly. Repelling them with his axe sword, the giant closes in on the man with his body slashed and his legs here. He most likely won't reach the man. Yet for him to still challenge himself while understanding that he must have something that he cannot give up. What is he moving forward for? The servant fights for his master to protect her life. That is why the giant did not retreat. He could only move forward as a shield to protect his master behind him, to frighten girls from the rain of noble phantasms. The giant resumes his foolish advancement. Is it because he knew that he could only defeat that enemy while protecting Alia's field by taking all the attacks himself? It is because he knew that he could only defeat that enemy while protecting Alia's field by taking all the attacks himself. If he's able to defeat this enemy, then that is when he wins. It was this kind of battle from the start. The man has to kill the black giant before he reaches him. And the giant has to approach the man before his life ends. This is a battle where whoever accomplishes their own goal first survives. The giant is aware of that. Even if that is a battle that he has no chance of winning, then he had no chance of winning from the start. He lets out a roar. Coming out of his 10th death, the black giant runs. He charges forward and he charges toward the man, stirring up rubble like a bull challenging a matador.
Gero!
That servant with a capital S to you, sir. Numerous arrows are released. Did he get used to it from the repeated deaths, or was this his final charge? The giant repels all the arrows, closes in on the owner of the noble phantasm. The axe sword is flung. The strong sword that had not been swung at the man at all zips through the air with a flash.
天の鎖よ!
The black bull is captured by the numerous chains that appear. What kind of noble phantasm is it? The chains that suddenly appeared in midair lock up Berserker as if binding space itself. The chains tie Berserker's arms and twist them in every direction. As the chains wrap around his whole body, they continuously get tighter and even try to squeeze his rock-like neck off with tension.
これでも死なぬか。かつて天の王子すら束縛した鎖だが、お前を仕留めるには至らぬらしい。
The man's voice. The hall is filled with the creaking sounds of the chains. It must be Berserker's strength. The giant tries to cut off the chains that control space itself. Even if it initially sounds impossible, there's no doubt that giant can accomplish it. And of course, the man understood that well.
やだ、戻って、バーサーカー。
The girl screams. Eliasfield uses a command spell to command Berserker to retreat by force. The giant is still captured by the chains and unable to move an inch.
なんで？私の中に帰れって言ったのに、どうして？
Phrasing?
無駄だ人形。この鎖に繋がれた者はたとえ神であろうと逃れることはできん。いいな。神性が高ければ高いほど餌食となる。もとより神を律するためだけに作られたもの、霊樹による空間転移など、この俺が許すものか。
And then, the man points to the giant as if to signal the end. An astonished girl. It's over. This time, it really ends. Bounded by chains and therefore unable to defend himself, he gets annihilated by the noble phantasm 22 times. The black giant goes silent as he's forced to assume the shape of what can only be described as a strange statue. There's no need to even check whether he's breathing or not. Even if he is a great hero that overcame 10 deaths, he should not be able to get back up after experiencing over 20 deaths. Yes, even if he is alive, the giant should not have enough strength to even breathe. And the battle ends. It was known from the start who was going to win. Berserker could not win against that servant. No servant can be a match for that man as long as they're a heroic spirit. Heroic spirits each have their own weaknesses, which have been preserved from their time as living beings. By extension, each servant's origin story is their weakest point. Then, what would be the result of having a heroic spirit face off against someone who possesses all the noble phantasms, including the ones that ended their life as a human? This is the result. Even if he may have been stronger as a hero, he cannot win against that man as long as he's a heroic spirit.
やだ。やだよ、バーサーカー。
The ghostly white girl runs to the black giant that became a corpse. And the man mercilessly slashes the girl with a sword in his hand. She screams. The man takes away the girl's vision with a single horizontal strike. For the next attack, the aim is to stab her heart. But that misses. No, he missed on purpose. The girl is pierced in the lung and she coughs up blood. The chains are broken. The black giant breaks the chains and launches an attack on the man. The man stabbed a slow-witted target. The spear pierces his heart. He finishes off the giant with a spear similar to Lancer's noble phantasm, Gay Bolt. Then it ends. The black giant dies for sure this time. The sword is pulled out from the collapsed girl, leaving traces of red behind. The girl crawls to the giant that is no longer moving. Watching in delight, the man walks forward. He threw away his sword. He will use his bare hands finish off the dying girl. I'll die. I'll probably die. I'll die for sure this time. That servant has no logic. He will kill anyone in his way. If I don't get away from here before he finds me, I'll surely be killed. So Oh, you gotta restrain yourself. I restrain my body that wants to jump out. I see Tosaka biting her lips in the corner of my eye. I know. It's obvious Tosaka wants to stop him as well. But we'll be the ones killed if we do so. There's no way we could stop him. The man's arm reaches out to the girl in white. I can't breathe. My feet are on fire from wanting to jump out, and my arms want to fly out over the terrace. My body is shaking like it's broken and tries to go against my brain's orders. It's as if my heart is shattered. Even then, I suppress my voice and kill my will. I let the girl die as if killing myself. And it ends. The man pulled something out of the girl's body with his bare hands, with a smile still on his face. A red, dripping object that looked like a fruit. The thing in the man's hand, without a doubt, the girl in white's. My mind burns down. The man that has gone white is making my whole body shake with uncontrollable anger.
ほう、先ほどから悪臭がしていたが、そうか。盗み見をする不届き者がいたか。
The man still holding the red thing in his right hand.
無礼者。雑種の分際で、俺の姿を直視するな。
He fires one of his countless noble phantasms that make him. The terrace falls. The man's noble phantasm goes through the wall of the castle and destroys the hall's walls. I don't move a step in the midst of it all. I don't care about the rubble that falls from above. I don't have the composure to run, and I have no intention to run. It doesn't matter whether a big piece of rubble grazes my back. I can't think of taking my eyes off that man right now.
ほう。何かと思えば、セイバーのマスターとはな。
His red eyes react to my enmity. My blood boils. I'll die in the next instant. There's no way I'm not afraid of that. My body refuses to run away and keeps screaming to defeat that enemy right now. The corpse of the girl that was killed mercilessly keeps ordering me not to forgive him. It's only natural for me to lose all reasoning. My mind churns from the contradicting desires of life and death.
戦う意志はあるようだが、話にならん。肝心のセイバーがいないのでは、貴様などに価値はない。
A sword appears in the man's left hand. The sword is raised mercilessly and should come down to kill me. Even then, I keep staring at the enemy. I can't think of showing my back to that man.
ちょっと待てよ。そいつさ、僕の知り合いなんだよね。
The man's sword stops. Shinji, who is watching from the other side of the wall, starts walking to the center of the hall with light steps.
よう、久しぶりだな、エミヤ。こんなところで会うとは思わなかったんでね。少しばかり驚いたよ。
The man doesn't move. There's about 10 meters between us. Would I be able to get near him? Even Berserker could not close this distance.
なんだ、ブルって声も出ないのか？まあ、気持ちはわからないでもないよ。僕も、ああ、そうだったそうだった。いや、あの時は見逃してもらって助かったよ、エミヤ。
Well, I'm not! There's nothing I can use as a weapon. But I don't care. My mind is clear right now. I don't feel any uneasiness about projecting his swords in this situation.
おい、僕がこっちを見ろって言ってるんだ。
I slightly shift my gaze in his direction. I face Shinji while keeping the man in my vision.
そうだよ。分かってるじゃんか。今ここで一番誰が偉いのかってことがさ。
Hey, did you hear that? You might want to kill him for that. I gasp a little. It's not Shinji's words, but rather the unexpected serious manner in which he says them.
そういうことだ。なら分かってるよな、エミヤ。お前、このままじゃ確実に死ぬよ。
How out of place. Why say something that's so obvious now?
紹介が遅れたが、そいつは僕の新しいサーバントでね。ライダーなんかよりすごいだろ。
Shinji puts his hand over the man's shoulder. And with a delighted face,
命乞いしろよ、エミヤ。少しは考えてやってもいいぜ。
he says some nonsense. I refuse. I have no doubt. I answer right away without showing any hesitation or showing any signs of even considering it.
そうかよ。それじゃあ死んじゃえよ、お前。
Shinji jumps back. The man, still with a cold expression, finally brings his raised sword down.
そこまでよ。そこのサーバント。指一本でも動かせば、マスターの命は保証しないわ。
And the man stops his sword again. Everyone looks up. Everyone in the hall turns their attention to the girl standing at the terrace. Tosaka's hand is faced towards Shinji. Even though Shinji doesn't have the aptitude as a mage, he should know what that means. Tosaka is serious. If that man brings down his sword, she will kill Shinji as retaliation.
トサカ、お前までなんでここに。
Tosaka doesn't answer, but just keeps her aim aligned on Shinji.
なんだよ、お前。本気で僕を撃とうっていうか。この人殺し。
You are one
殺
to
したのは
talk.
そっちが先でしょう。もっともどうであれこっちの気は変わらないわ。シンジ、殺す権利と殺される権利は同じよ。そんなこと人間なら魔術師じゃなくても本能で理解なさい。
Shinji weakly retreats, being glared down by Tosaka. At that, that guy is watching in delight. He looks at Tosaka as if to belittle her. Then, I feel like there was a strange vibration that took over the hall. That took over the hall for an instant.
なるほど。俺の打倒はできぬと悟り、マスターを狙ったか。交渉を持ちかけたのはマスターを殺したところで俺が止まらぬと判断したからだな、娘。
そうよ。シンジが死んだくらいじゃあんたは止まりそうにない。けどこの状況なら考えてもいいでしょ。今ならシンジを救えるもの。あんただってサーバントならマスターを失うのは痛手のはずよ。
なるほどなるほど。なかなかの起点だ。そこの雑種を助けたいのならばその交渉しかありえまい。
The sword disappears. He turns his back to me as if he lost interest in me.
お前、何のつもりだ。誰が止めろって言ったんだよ。
いや、状況が変わったぞシンジ。彼女ならば器としては文句なしだ。
Shinji's breath stops. His face is filled with irritation suddenly turns into a dirty smile.
そうか。いや、嬉しいよ、父さんが。 君がまだ生きていてくれて。
そう、一応私もほっとしたわ。あんたみたいなのでも付き合いは長いからね。どこかで死なれてたら気落ちするわ。
Well, that's surprising. Wait till you hear what he's done to Sakura. Laughing happily, Shinji clasps his hands. It's strange. Shinji shows no fear even though Tosaka can end his life. It seems like an overwhelming joy is numbing his emotions.
まあいい。それよりどうだ登坂。エミヤなんてほっといてさ、僕たちと手を組まないか。
僕たち？
そうだよ。君もキャスターが力を蓄えているのは知ってるだろ。竜道寺は今回の最段階だ。そこに陣取られて魔力を蓄えられてるので、少しばかり不利になる。
Shinji says with both arms raised. But that's an obvious fact. On top of that, it seems like Shinji doesn't know about how Castor obtains Saber and Archer.
な、わかるだろ。一人でやっても勝ち目は薄いんだ。バーサーカーのマスターは倒したけど、これだけじゃ足りない。登坂、君がいればキャスターたちにも負けないものが作れるよ。
Shinji invites her with confidence. To
お
that,
断りよシンジ。あんたが誰とつながっているかは知らないけどね、私から見てもいいように使われているだけのやつについていく道理はないわ。
Tosaka refuses him without twitching a brow.
なんだって
わからない？腐れ縁から忠告するけど、もうちょっと周りを観察する知力を養いなさい。的藤真司をマスターだと思っているのはあんた一人だけよ。あんたには魔術師としての才能がないっていい加減気がついたら。
Shinji's face twitches. Tosaka's harsh words must have made him forget that his life is in her hands.
やれギルガメッシュ。エミヤも登坂も皆殺しだ。
Shinji orders his own servant.
なんだよ。やれって言ってるだろ。お前なら僕がやられる前にやるなんて簡単じゃないか。
いや、残念だが時間切れだ。これ以上放置すれば腐ってしまう。
The man shows Shinji, who is closing in on him, the thing in his right hand. A red lump. It's the thing that he took out of the girl. It's still throbbing. Shinji grits his teeth in vexation.
後悔するなよ登坂。もう仲間にしてやらないからな。
Shinji runs towards the front entrance. There's one person left. After the man slowly watches his master being angry,
だそうだ。良い友人を持ったな。
he says delightfully and leaves the hall filled with rubble. The sun is setting and the lobby slowly wrapped in darkness. We came to the castle to find an ally, but the only thing remaining is the ruins of a castle after a turn of events.
それでどうする？こっちから仕掛けず守りを固めるっていうのならここに残ってもいいと思う。食料も暖も取れるし、壁を直せば籠城の真似事ぐらいできるしね。
That's the best thing to do if we want to protect ourselves. But we even gained an ally to choose the path to fight because we couldn't do so. No, it would be meaningless if we strengthened our defense. Any defense would be broken once Castor completely controls Saber. Even if we do survive here, if the Holy Grail becomes Castor's, then
私たちだけじゃなく、町の人間もただじゃ済まない。ならやることは一つね。キャスターがセイバーを手に入れる前に取り戻す。キャスターとアーチャーとアサシンとクズキ先生、この4人を 私たちで倒す。
I nod silently. Since we couldn't get the help of Elia, we have to do this by ourselves. The sun will completely set soon. We'll have to get out of this place before that and attack Castor before Saber surrenders. Wait, so we don't get the scene? So that's it? We don't get the scene with we don't get the scene with Shirou bearing Elia and talking with Tosaka about what happened 10 years ago? I think that was my favorite part in the anime. And I think that yeah, Night stay night. Yeah, I think that's gonna be it for today. So we'll try and pick this up tomorrow. So maybe that scene from the anime is in this section, but or in this section. So hopefully we'll do this tomorrow. Have a great night.